Hi everyone, thank you for joining this presentation today. I'm going to be going over a framework for organizational success using one of our recent changes as an example. Elaine Bike's change model provides a useful way to recognize changes that need to occur in an organization and provides a framework for how to manage change in an organization. Change is an acronym for the different phases of the process, which I'll cover in more depth shortly. So as an overview today, I will be going over the change model and then the change model in action, followed by Q&A. It might seem obvious, but nothing changes if nothing changes. So how do we go about change in more effective ways? Bike emphasizes that these different steps of the model need to be completed, but there's overlap between the different steps and the change is rarely linear. So I will be going over each of these steps in more detail using the example of our recent implementation of human capital management as an illustration of how this model was used. We've experienced so much growth in our Cal Marcom team that we've built some trust among the departments and we have big picture goals. Our team is small, but we're overburdened and we will stagnate in growth or burn people out unless we make some changes. So I'm now going to show how the change model was employed to help us address the challenges and opportunities that have resulted due to the increased trust and growth in our Marcom team. So in the change model, step 1 addresses the question of why. It stands for C, challenge the current state. And it is important to recognize the need for change and to innovate. This is the phase at which people are identifying the need for change. Recognizing the stress and concern that as our marketing coordinator I was feeling, I started looking at ways to improve the situation. I talked to leadership about these challenges, and they also recognized that we were growing beyond capacity. While this meant that we were moving in a positive direction, we realized we needed to address these challenges before we started experiencing negative outcomes. Step 2 of the model is H, and it stands for Harmonize and Align Leadership. So you want to ensure that leadership is aligned and supportive of the message, and this addresses the what phase of the change process. Here it's where important to communicate the change message, and it includes the importance of leadership involvement. The change message was important primarily for human resources in making the decision to approve promotions and raises, as well as a new full-time position. We also needed to see how other members of the Cal Marcom team felt. We had a lot of one-on-one discussions during this time, and those included myself with team members and myself with leadership. And we created a really strong change vision. A in the model stands for activate commitment, and this is step 3. It addresses the how. In this phase, the planning included the design of the plan, and this is where teams are formed, leaders continue to communicate the importance of the vision. So human capital management is a set of strategies and applications that help organizations manage their employees' skills and knowledge and experience. And it can include such things as recruitment and onboarding and training, those sorts of things. It can help organizations improve productivity and retain employees and eliminate redundancies. So we began to look at how we needed to restructure both responsibilities, titles, pay, and how we could recruit a new team member. Part of the change involved improving job roles, expectations, and processes, and to identify who would be taking care of what. I became the primary change leader for communicating and including in the Cal Marcom folks and leadership, and our university business officer became the primary change leader for supporting me and advocating with university HR. I provided messaging and justification for why roles needed to change and why a new role was necessary, and leadership communicated with HR. We took care to identify the ways the team could be part of the planning and implementation, and we engaged in hopeful communication about the future. We addressed some of the ways to recognize and respect the emotions that people might be feeling. Step 4 addresses the design and implementation tools for the change. This is the N in the change model for nurture and formalize a design. And this is where the model encourages the formalization of a design for implementation. So we looked at how the changes were impacting each system. We formalized the job descriptions of each person and how we would manage training the new person. We worked on how we could smooth out processes with the new responsibilities and division of work. And one of the ways we managed this was implementing and improving upon our usage of the project management system Monday.com. G in the model stands for guide implementation. This is the action step where the effort begins to pay off. And our team became more efficient almost right away. With workload divided, burnout started to decrease, and final outcomes started to improve even more. We held weekly one-on-one meetings between myself and leadership, and then one meetings between myself and the rest of the Marcom team. And we began seeing improvements and really feeling like growth was possible. We also gained the capacity to be able to delve deeper into our respective roles instead of just reacting to all the demands. For example, the employee we hired for social media and website development was actually able to do research and pull data to utilize new methods, which we had not had the capacity to do before. The graphic designer had more time to put into event materials and was able to also address a number of projects that had been put on the back burner because of workload and demands. And all of the team felt more supported, and life stressors were reduced because of higher pay and a better work-life balance. Finally, the E in change stands for evaluate and institutionalize the change. In this step, the plan is evaluated and institutionalized. This step is about embedding the change in the culture, and it encourages the organization to prepare for continuous change, which is also an important part of the change model. Evaluating our change efforts occurred consistently over time. We continued to monitor progress, how everyone was feeling. We were able to make adjustments as necessary. For example, we realized that it made more sense for our new hire to focus more on events than originally planned because it was a particular area of interest and she had the capacity to take on more. It also helped alleviate some of the workload for our designer. Continued discussion was very important. We reported on successes, both large and small, and complimented each other and recognized the work that everyone was doing and the growth that was happening. We also continued to adjust our communications as needed. For example, we realized it made more sense and everyone felt more involved when we had monthly team meetings, including the CPIs, or looped specific people in on specific emails or communications regarding certain projects. One of the important ways we also monitored success was to evaluate whether we were meeting or moving toward our long-term big picture goals. We assessed this at our regular meetings and then more formally during the annual review. The goals for each employee were worked into their annual evaluation goals and into their daily tasks so that they could be successful. So, for example, one of our employees felt that doing more brand trainings was one of her big interests, and should be a priority, and it also aligned with our big picture goals. So we worked it into her schedule, and as her supervisor, I made sure to check on her updates on a regular basis and support her efforts. Redesigning the web pages was another large goal, so we built weekly deadlines into that schedule. So, to close, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. And I think it's been really important and really effective that as we looked towards the future and how things could change, we've really experienced some amazing growth and a lot of really positive outcomes. Thank you.